Garden of Sinners, Chapter 8, Epilogue. So Kokuto sees Shiki standing out in the snow. This, of course, parallels how he originally sees her for the first time standing out in the rain. And striking up a dialogue, we learn that there is now a third personality in Shiki. As it turns out, this is the personality that he originally saw back in the rainy day when they saw each other for the first time. And apparently, because this personality is divorced from the other two, this is the reason, I guess, why Shiki didn't remember meeting him initially. I was unaware that she didn't remember meeting him during the rainy day, but I guess we get closure on that. Regardless, this personality is the personality of Shiki's body itself, which is also linked to the concept of the origin. And so we get to meet what is essentially Shiki's origin personality, which origins were concepts that were brought up in the last movie, and I don't know if I bothered to bring them up because I frankly wasn't expecting it to be important, but basically it's like the true nature of your soul or whatever. And it basically turns out that the true nature of Shiki's soul is that she wants to destroy stuff. So the important part about this is her endless desire to murder things comes from her connection to her origin, which is the personality that Kokuto has let's be clear, a very calm and easygoing discussion with during this movie. But really what this does is tries to detoxify the relationship between Shiki and Kokuto, saying it's not really Shiki that wants to go on a murder rampage. She's not really a murder hobo. It's actually this personality, the body's personality, the origin, that wants to go on the murder rampage. So all of that, it gets pushed over to this personality and the influence of the personality that he has the conversation with right now. I believe in my original review, I actually said I think the concept of bodies having personalities was kind of interesting. Having dug more into what they're actually saying during this rewatch, the philosophy in this is fucking stupid, and most of it is just there to justify the dumb Nasuverse power system. Look, we don't need to get into it. I still think the concept of bodies having its individual personalities is an interesting idea if you look at it philosophically from the concept of your instincts and your fight and flight responses and stuff like that, like impulse versus conscious decisions and divisions between conscious, unconscious, and subconscious minds. And I need to be clear, that's not at all what they're talking about in this movie. I misinterpreted it the first time. This very specifically says that your body has its own personality that gets deleted when you're born, but they used magic so it didn't get deleted, and because it didn't, it's connected to the origin, and because of that, she's basically omnipotent. That is what this movie says. That is the philosophy that this movie says. This movie says that if your body starts out with a personality, and that personality is God. So, we're moving on. Basically, this is just there to give you a full clearance of Shiki's personality, as well as clear up all of the little misunderstandings that I don't think we fully needed an answer to. Like, for example, we learn that Fujino Asagami, the psychic girl from the third movie, is also connected to her origin. And so the reason she has magic psychic eyes is because she's actually seeing into the origin the similar way that Shiki's body is seeing into the origin, but to a lesser extent because Shiki's body is like practically one and the same of the origin itself. So there we go. We got the answer for the psychic girl's powers. It's because she's connected to her own origin, which is also, I guess, the same reason that the fucking red jacket dude from the last movie was super powerful, is because he was connected to his origin. So it's all tied back into the concept of origins. Look at that. Isn't that fun? Regardless, she offers to, like, fix Kokuto's eye, and Kokuto's like, no. Look, I have a lot to say about Kokuto, but I think we're going to wait for the afterword where I really break down my feelings on the series as a whole. This is just here as an epilogue, I think, because, this epilogue also ties in the central themes that were presented throughout the course of the series. If you remember, what I said in movie 5 was that the central themes seem to be that in order to, like, live your life and make your way through the world, despite all of the things that might happen to you, it's all about the little things. And I wanted to be general, and I probably should have been a little less general, because they specifically, like, point out bonds and connections with people in movie 5. But I wanted to, like, leave the door in for other discussions to occur, especially because they also address things like drug use later on. Not that I knew they were going to do that, but regardless, there were hints that there could be more here. But yeah, essentially, it's a basic shonen moral system where, if I were to overly generalize what seems to be the summed up message of both Epilogue and Garden of Sinners as a whole, is your bonds and your connections are what make life worth living, and it's what keeps you going and staving off things like depression and suicidal tendencies and stuff like that. So this is really just here because they needed a way to show that Shiki understands the central message of Garden of Sinners, but they need Shiki to say it, but also it's totally not in character for Shiki to have this conversation. So this really does feel like a ham-fisted way to, like, tie up the entire series and the way to present the morals to the audience. It's also worth noting that Garden of Sinners is absolutely terrified of the audience not understanding it. So, which I'm okay with. That's not a criticism or anything, but it is something I have sort of noticed. So this is just the bow that they try and tie up on everything and fix up a bunch of loose ends and stuff. I don't think this movie is strictly required for the viewing of this series, but I don't think it detracts from the series in any way. It's just sort of there, like an epilogue is. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope. Bye-bye.